And then the last one. Mine may not do it because it's turned sideways. Oh, okay.
Hello everyone, welcome to Brains Over Bullets, our first actual live taping. We're excited about this. I am Ari McNeil, the founder of God Style Outreach, Gun Violence Awareness, and Mental Health and Youth. BRIM, Broken Restored Empowered Mothers, mothers that have lost children to gun violence and any type of loss. And this is our guest speaker, Brianna McIver. I'm gonna let her share who she is, and Demetria.
Hello everyone, my name is Brianna McKeever. I was born in Bladen County. I currently am a special education teacher in Harnett County. I've been working with the youth for some years now in foster care, adoption. I work with disabled youth, at-risk youth. So I'm very skilled and love learning more about and helping our community.
Hello everyone, as you guys know, my name is Demetria Murphy. I am the founder of YD Youth Diverse Intervention Group, where we particularly work with at-risk youth. However, we accept all youth. Our overall mission is to provide the kids with tools to become effective citizens within our community. As well as I work with Operation Ceasefire as an offender liaison, as well as I also do speaking engagements for Operation Ceasefire. Overall, my main mission is to aid the community in being better than what we are, and I believe in the logo that it takes a village. So I'm blessed and happy that we were able to come together on this platform to bring gun awareness to the light.
I do want to say that the reason why all this came about, we have to honor my son, Antonio Biggie Styles, who was murdered August 21st, 2017, 17 years old, who this picture is behind us, because if it wasn't for him, he drives the vision for gun violence awareness. So I have to honor him, and I also always, I don't know if you can see, light the candles for all the children, for him and all the children that have lost their life to gun violence and lost their life to any way in our community. We always keep the candles lit and burning to let you know that we honor them and respect their lives. And last time when we first started, we was talking about Brains Over Bullets, how we came about that name. And Brains Over Bullets is basically try to get you to think outside of picking up a gun and deciding that would be the way to handle your differences. So last time we went over the parts of the brain. If you could see social media, the parts of the brain. The red part is the frontal lobe. That's located in front of the brain. This lobe is responsible for planning, organizing, and incoming information. You can also use this lobe to control behavior and emotions. The yellow part of the brain, the parietal lobe, which is right here, kind of in the middle behind the frontal lobe, is crucial in integrating sensory and visual information. And temporal lobe is right behind that, kind of up under, so that's like right up under parietal lobe, and that's used for processing language and storing information in the long-term memory. And occipital lobe, I can never say that word, but
Occipital.
Thank you. And that is basically just the visual right here at the bottom. That's the visual part of your brain, how you see things visually and process things visually. And the topic of discussion today, we wanted to talk about discussing parents taking different things like what happened to old-fashioned, fasting and praying, how, what is it going to take to get our youth back on track? And the main question I have today is what we're going to talk about. Why is the African American culture so angry and aggressive? That's the topic for today. We want to know, where is all this stem from? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from, are you bitter? Are you angry? Is it come from from your childhood, your upbringing? Is it generational? We're kind of gonna get into that today. So, you know, who want to talk first?
Okay, so to answer the question, why does black man appear to be so angry? I just went back to think, like, try to put myself into a man's shoes, and I know that this can date back to slavery, all the things that people endure while they were slaves, and then with the different generations, you know, that same mentality began to birth in generations after slavery. The next part I also believe is biological and environmental factors. This means, like, you know, some men are grown up in single parent homes with women. They may be seeing the mother struggle or sometimes prosper, but when the male comes in the picture, they're often abusive and talking, you know, down to the mother and putting them down and telling them they're not nothing when they see everything that their mother is doing. So this creates this animosity towards the male that they're supposed to be able to look up to, whereas they're, you know, looking at them like, wow, you know, I have to go through this at a young age. So then it's followed up to the next thing is, I don't believe the males have any positive role models in the celebrity world, because, you know, social media is very prominent now in our days. I'm 25, so I know how everyone thrives off social media. So what the males have to look up to is the celebrities and artists who promotes gang violence, who promotes drugs, who promotes guns, getting the fast money, you know, the women. So I feel like if they're looking at these people and saying, hey, they're living a life, you know, this is all they have to do to get that money. So I feel like I should do the same thing. But in return, celebrity is just the entertainment business. Most of the time, these celebrities are not living this life that they put in these songs, rap songs. They're not living that life at all. The next one is jealousy. Because, you know, also growing up, you know, some males are able to prosper in basketball and football, but, you know, one male may have gotten an injury that prohibits him from going further in life and pursuing that career of basketball or football. So I feel like that's another one. Did you want to jump in? Okay. The next one is pressure by parenting. I feel like that's another thing, because being raised in a home, I can see the differences in parenting for myself being a female and then, you know, my siblings being males. The reason I say that is because I feel like parents are preparing their males on what they will face in the life today. So you're always going to be hard on them. You know, you should do this. I don't want you hanging out there, you know, with your family who is not doing right. I'm trying to teach you, you know, the ways to go in life. So I feel like that also plays a part with just the pressure of the parents. Another one is cousins and families, because I know some parents say, you know, I'm not going to allow you to spend some time with your cousins because they're out there, you know, running the streets, as they say, you know, stuff like that. But then when that child gets of age, that's what they want to do, is run in the streets, follow my cousins, because that's a male in their life that is easy to get to versus somebody who's not there, who's absent. And I also just feel like the males feel like this is the way to be a man. If I'm not angry, then I'm not a man. If I'm not angry, then I'm not a man. So I feel like this whole topic of anger and aggression for the African American male, I just feel like it's a stereotype, and it also has stigmas from the people, the generation. It's just stigmas that were put onto this whole topic.
That's good stuff.
And I agree with some of those things. It definitely started from slavery. When you think about the dynamics of slavery, so the man is always wanted to be seen as the pillar, the strength. But then during slavery, it was to demean him, to lose that value of respect. Coming into currently where we are, I agree that as parents, we sometimes allow social media to parent our children. And it's not saying that you're a bad parent. It's just saying that we've lost a sense of prioritizing and managing our time to invest into our children.
Right.
Now, for me, when you really look at the environment and what is in the environment, you see a lot of drug boys.
Yeah.
And typically when you have younger adolescents going to school, bullying plays a major part in aggression and anger. Because if you do not have what is the latest and you're going to be bullied,
Yeah.
that drives and that feeds that anger, that aggression.
Yeah.
So your next recourse is, let me do what I see so-and-so doing in the street so I can get these things.
Exactly.
Because then it builds up a sense of false power, false hope, and you get these street credits and accolades that aren't real.
That's right.
So I think that when it comes down to it, I've always been told, and I always appreciate that it takes two people to create a child.
Yeah.
It takes two people to raise a child. But there's nowhere in the book that says it has to be biological blood.
Right.
And I think that if we had more males to step up in the community and do it under the right pretenses,
Right.
to take children out of certain environments, we can't help the environment we take them back to.
Right.
But what we can help is what we put into them when we take them out of those environments for whatever that amount of time is.
Plant the seed.
Because we're changing that mindset.
That's right.
So if you have someone who is a business owner, who drive trucks or whatever these different careers that you do, and you're taking someone, a little guy from the community, letting him see a different way of living and talking to him about it, you begin, like you said, to plant that seed for them to say, I want to do this.
That's right.
I want to do this, and not worry about the peer pressure. Because working in mental health for almost 16, 17 years, that was one of the greatest things. The peer pressure. What did people perceive about you, how you handled a situation? And I think that that's very important. If you can overcome worrying about how society view you, then you have a better chance of reaching your level of success outside of being stigmatized as being this angry black man, because they say we angry too.
Yes, they say we're bitter.
Yeah, you ask a man why did he date outside of his race?
Because we're mean and we're bitter.
We're mean, we're bitter, we're stubborn.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that.
We fuss too much. This. They can go down the list. Go down the list.
So I think that that's a double edge. I think it goes both ways, because society has placed a stigma that African American males and females are aggressive, and we carry a lot of anger, and it comes from a lot of brokenness.
It does.
It comes from brokenness and having a lot of generational curses, you know, in the household, in the environment, in the communities, and then you don't have the opportunity to see many educators
That's right.
that look like us,
Exactly.
or see many CEOs that look like us.
Right.
And I'm not saying be CEO of the block.
No.
Right.
I'm to my CEO of the company.
Yes, or entrepreneurship, or, you know.
So yeah, I totally agree. I think that is a stigma that needs to, you know, be changed and worked on, and it's only going to take the effectiveness of men standing up.
Yes, that's true. I agree.
That's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
So, do y'all think that it could be because prayer have been taken out the home? It's on Bill B. Do you think that's the basis of it? Do you think, you know, back in the days, grandma used to get all the kids, what we grew up at? We grew up at that grandma's house.
Right.
Mommy drop us all at grandma's house. And what grandma do? We going to Bible study, we going to church, we going to Sunday morning, Sunday school, vacation, Bible school.
Right. We was at church every day.
7 days a week.
At somebody's house.
At somebody's house or in church. Or we was somewhere where we were getting some foundation.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has decreased because of all the stuff that's going on in the world. There's a lot more hatred. You know, people not saying, look, I ain't got time for church. I don't know, them people fake. So the church has got such a bad stigma now that, you know, they have gotten away from that.
Yeah.
But they don't understand that's really the foundation.
But it goes back to what we discussed last week.
Mhm.
Grandparents are not grandparent age no more.
Right.
So grandparents now are 30, 40 years old that are grandparents now. So how can you be that praying grandmother when that generation is so young?
Yeah.
That's true.
You don't have the history. You don't have the trials and the tribulations to have to pray through those things.
Right.
And I think that when you look at religion, you do have a great stigma where people are like, oh, I don't want to go to church. They fake, they this, they that. Because it lost the sense of what church is.
Yeah.
See, church can't save you. It's a building.
I think that's where they get it mixed up.
Right. The purpose is for you to go into this environment to worship with others that are like-minded, like-spirited, to go in and worship with them, to feed and feast on his word.
Because it's an individual thing.
It's an individual
You gotta
thing.
go what you want, because at the end of the day, like I always say, even at that time come, you ain't gonna take your homie with you. You ain't gonna take them. It's gonna be
You ain't gonna take not one brick from the building either.
No, exactly. It's just gonna be you and God. So you have to get to build up your own relationship. And I promise you, I know for a fact, grandma prayers is what kept me.
Absolutely. That's what kept all of us at this level
where we are, and as
That's
much as
who it
we've been
was.
through them prayers, and you know, keeping us in that
That's
foundation
what
of
was.
the church and spiritual foundation. I promise. I believe it.
Yeah. So I would.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
I would like to interject. Going back to your question of, do I
Prayer
feel
in
like
the
it's
home.
because prayer in the home? And I want to throw a curve in there and say, what if it's the parents who are raising the kids, you know, their pressure of, I want to make a great life for my kids. So now I got to work. And then I don't have time for my child because I'm at work. I don't have time to take off work to take my child to church because I'm trying to, you know, make a better life for my child so they won't have to struggle. So by the time they get my age, they will already be ready to be successful in the world.
Okay, so with that, let me say this. Please know and understand, I'm a Christian. I don't always walk the way he would have me to. However, I know the power of providing. I know the omnipresence of who he say he is. But where I think we dropped the ball at is looking at the aspect that we want so much from him, but give so little to him.
That's right.
So because you find yourself at a point where you're wanting to work, and neglect giving a moment to him, this is why sometimes things are not going the way that you want them to go. Because if you make that sacrifice, he's going to make the sacrifice to do what he needs to do. But for me, I tell anyone, I'm not here to beat you over the head with the word. I want you to know who he is. I want you to believe in him and all the goodness, okay? But I also understand that in this society today, people are moving so far away from the religion, and they're wanting to say this is a single five thing, and this is my relationship with him, and this, that, and the third. But please know and understand, in the Bible, it tells us about the trick of the enemy. It talks about it. It talks about where we at now, mothers against daughters, fathers against sons. We're seeing these things happen. And it talks about new world religions. And this is where we're sitting at. We're sitting in a new world religion. Because if you remember growing up, you heard vaguely, you heard about Christianity and the different sectors. You heard about Muslims, Buddhism, Jehovah's Witness. Now you got New World Muslims, you got this, you got that. Everybody is trying to build and make these new things to look good. When it comes to figuring out who you want to worship. But only thing I tell anybody, you better worship somebody because somebody else got you up because you definitely didn't do it.
But I just say don't worship somebody, worship the one and only, because that's the only one that's gonna give you what you need.
Yeah.
You can't worship, let's say your God is this candle. You ain't gonna get nothing from this candle. The
You
battery
right.
gonna get
You're right, but no one understand this.
But so make sure you
But
worship.
no one understand this. When you truly have him in your life, walking into the room, his presence is already there. You truly have him in your life. Walking into a room, his presence is already there. So you have to be very mindful. Religion is a very touchy subject.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very touchy subject. You can gain and you can lose. So especially all of us sitting at this table having social work experience.
Yes, we're all social workers.
Knowing that you have to be very careful treading in religious waters.
Yes, we can't. That's what they tell us. We can't even really tell. We can't
Yeah, you have to
nothing on
be
the wall.
right.
We can't have nothing.
So this why
they
it takes
say
me
they
back
real
to.
strict
This is
about
why it
that.
takes me back to. If you truly carry his torch,
It'll be in you.
it's gonna be in you, and it's in you so much that it's gonna radiate when you walk in that room.
But if you can't say that it's going to be there, his presence is there, because they might. He's omnipresent. But if nobody's there that has the light in them, it's not going to be there. Have to be another person that has the light in them for it to already be there. So that's why. So we're gonna switch off that for a minute. And our next question is, why are black women bitter and angry?
I think black women are bitter and angry because we hold such a resentment in our hearts because we're used to men. Okay, so let me say this: my aunt and my uncle been married forever.
Okay.
And he's a strong provider. And those are some of the things that we are looking for is these men to come in and be these strong pillars of providers, but we're not willing to give them the leeway to be the leader.
Right.
So that's why I think we're angry. We're angry because we have this list. This is my list. And with my list, you gotta line up with everything that's on my list.
That's right.
You got a job? No, a good job? Oh, McDonald's?
Time to go.
What's your next thing? You got some money? A little bit? Oh no, he ain't
You ain't got no car.
You got a list
got
of
this.
things
Yes, on your list.
that you've
The
made up.
standards is up here.
Right.
But
And that's exactly why you sit in the house by yourself.
Right, but the thing is, what women don't realize, women, we, newsflash to women, we don't have it all together. So how dare us as the women culture try to put so much pressure on men to have it all together and have this and have that when we don't have it all together? What if men start saying, oh, she ain't got this, she ain't got no car, she ain't got no house, she ain't got no money, she can't have no kids, Lord have mercy, because just about everybody got kids. And she don't got no kids, she gotta have one child, she gotta have brown eyes with Puerto Rican hair. What if they start doing that to us? Lord, we're big.
But they do.
Yeah,
But they do.
Someone
They do. You know what I'm saying? And let me say this. I'm definitely not saying that you shouldn't have standards. Because you should have standards. But understand, you also should be at the point where you can meet somebody where they are. Because you don't know what potentials might be in them to make them be great. You know, sometimes you have men and women who just need that boost. That's what they need. They need to be boosted up, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think for some women, just seeing other women around being angry, you know, seeing how they respond to different situations, how they respond to people. So I'm thinking that they may be like, oh, so this is what I have to do to get what I want. Or this is what I have to do for them to do what I want them to do. So I also feel like that's why some women are kind of aggressive and angry, because it's something that they've seen and it's a form of being taught, you know, the ways to be a woman.
I think another reason why as women we're aggressive and we're angry too is because we're looking for this knight in shining armor to come running in on a horse and rescue and save us, and you know, all these different things or whatever. But I definitely think that it is a stigma for them to, you know, say that we are aggressive and we're angry and all these different things. I think that, you know, jokingly, but overall, I do really think that when you look at African American women, we've been accustomed to seeing our mothers struggle.
Yeah.
You know, we've been accustomed to see women struggle because the lack of men that's in our lives.
Right.
You know, everybody wants to be daddy's little girl, you know, and when you don't have that and you're used to seeing your mother trying to make it, that's where that anger and that aggression come from. Because you definitely want someone to come to the table who can at least meet you halfway, who can meet you some point in this endeavor that we call a journey of life. You don't want to go through it by yourself.
No.
So the next thing says, does the anger from the parent, single parent home transfer to the children, which cause them to go in and out of the community to commit various crimes or pick up a gun?
To answer that question, I feel like the anger that the children are now possessing is, I want to do whatever it takes to help my parents. So if it takes me going to get a gun and going to help, you know, the guys out in the communities get these other people, and I can get this money real fast, then what's wrong with me doing it? Where's the problem? So I feel like that goes back to the anger with the children. And then when they come back home and somebody calls the parents and say, oh, you know, I seen your child out there, you know, with this group of guys and, you know, doing wrong, and he had a gun and all that. When he gets back home, the parents are on him like, didn't I tell you this is how it's supposed to be? Why are you doing that? You're not following my rules. So guess what? It's time to go. It's time to go. So I think that anger transpires from, you know, things like that, you know, makes them want to go out and do those things.
And social media, you're welcome to put a question in the box or put a question up there so we can discuss it next week or whatever, so we can address it. So we want everybody to be involved. This is a community show.
Yes, and you're also more than welcome to actually come.
Yes.
You know, you don't have to just engage with us through social media, but you also can come and engage with us face to face.
And one of my other questions was, does this cause a strain on parenting in the child? Do you think the part of, okay, the parent, she's angry, I'm tired, I gotta pay the bills by myself, my check ain't where it should be, I'm single, I wanna have my own life, but I gotta make sure the kids, I wanna have this, I wanna do this, and it's such a strain. Does you think that strain and the pressure, and then she's trying to go to school, and then, you know, it could be a mother going through divorce, and the kids are being separated from homes, and it could be co-parenting going on. So with all that, do you think, does this cause a strain on the child and cause the child to kind of go out into the community and start doing mischievous things? Do you think that?
I definitely think that whether it's a single parent home or it's a two parent home, any house that has a high level of stress, and especially with young men in it, they immediately want to become a provider. So in the need of wanting to become a provider, then you do go out and you start making irrational decisions.
Right.
But it also goes back to when you don't have the time to invest in when you don't have the time to invest in your children, that's how they go to games. Because they're looking for this sense of acceptance, family, love. And then they're getting this false sense of that from these gangs and this other activities that's out here in the streets.
Because if they're not getting it from the parent, they're gonna look for acceptance. I think that's a key word in our society for young people. They're looking for acceptance. I want to be accepted. I want to be loved by somebody. If you if I'm not getting it from my mom or my daddy or my sister, my brother, not in my home, somebody gonna show me the love. So if I do join that gang, that means they love me. They accept me the way I
They
am.
say they
If
love
and for the females, if that man hit me,
you.
he loved me. If he beat on me, if he disrespect me, if he belittle me and tell me I'm worth nothing and never build me up, to them that might be love.
Right.
Because if there's no love in the home, then they're not gonna understand what love is.
But I think pain is generational.
What you mean?
But I say pain is generational because as mothers,
Mm-hmm.
if you're married
Mm-hmm.
and you and your husband separate,
Mm-hmm.
that anger and that aggression, your daughter sees the turmoil.
Yeah.
If you can't heal from the pain that someone else caused you, what we know is hurt people hurt people.
Right.
So what we tend to do is we have not learned to love us.
That's a big thing. That's a big.
When you're able
That's a
to
big one.
love and accept who you are
That's a big.
and love the skin that you're in,
Yeah.
then you can be in a room alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But until you reach that plateau, you find yourself in and out of relationships, in and out of friendships. You're in and out of all of these ships that ain't taking you nowhere.
Wow, that's good. I like that.
These
In and out
ships
of
are
ships.
baked at the dock.
Okay. Right.
You put that. That was
Yes.
good.
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah, it is true.
It's true.
So how do y'all think as social workers, Broncos?
Bronco pride.
How do y'all, let's look at it from two aspects. How do we do it from a social work perspective? And then after we look at it from a social work perspective, let's kind of bring it down to, that's real life. Because
Real
there
life.
is a different perspective.
It is.
It's a
It is.
different perspective.
It is.
So how would we look at this from a social work perspective?
I think for me, we want to focus on the strength of the youth.
Okay.
Find what they're good at. What are their strengths?
Mm-hmm.
Highlight what they're doing right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Start there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can look at solution theory.
Okay.
Let's look at solution focus because if we can focus on what you're doing right, we can find a solution for what you're doing wrong.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
But I
Good.
think it comes back to education of the parents.
It's STEM.
It comes back to dealing with the parents. What I've learned from even working with my nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
As parents, we don't want to admit when we dropped the ball.
I promise you.
We don't want to admit that we were wrong about a situation or we weren't clear about a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, instead of us being able to communicate to our children, we communicate at them.
Right. That's a good.
So that causes them to react in a negative way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the only way that we're going to be effective in bringing any type of awareness,
Mm-hmm.
guns, bullying, sex trafficking, drugs, it doesn't matter what awareness we're bringing.
Right.
If parents are not on board to being educated, we're in a losing battle.
Right.
We're in a losing battle because, you know, my 4-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
if you correct her, you're correcting her in love and guidance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So why am I mad at you for doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Go ahead.
too, it's because the parents feel like they're being attacked. They're already being attacked from their mothers by being impregnated, whatever age it is.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're gonna tell me that a social worker is coming in and telling me that my child is not being raised right? So why am I gonna listen to you when you trying to give me these interventions, but what I hear you saying is I'm not raising my child right. I'm not raising my child up to your standards. So I feel like that should be broken down to the parent. As a social worker, we're always taught skills to go to the parent and let them know we're not attacking you.
Right.
You know, we're not putting you down. We see what's going on and we're trying to help you. We're not saying one thing they taught us was to not make a parent feel like their parenting is wrong, but
Right.
make them feel like I'm just giving you tools that you can
Make
use.
you better.
You know, it's evidence-based, which means there was research done on, you know, individuals just like you,
Mm-hmm.
same situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to help you.
Right.
You know, so I think also that we should, like you said, the parent groups, parents, you know, they just have to be, if the parents don't come out the home, can we go to their home? If the parents don't want us to go to their home, can we go in the community, in the street, and have some program or something?
Right.
I mean, I just.
But I say this all the time, that parenting does not come with a manual. I just told a kid this the other day. I said, let me explain something to you. When your mother went to the hospital and you came out, they did not give her bundle of joy and a book. That's not how it went.
Okay.
Parenting is trial and error. Parenting is how you were parented. You take bits and pieces of what you are going to do and what you're not going to do, with what morals and values you built for yourself as you got older, and you mesh that together to become the parent that you are. How can we sometimes expect for parents to do those things when they either grew up in foster care or their parent is deceased before they became an adult? There was no step parent that stepped in and showed them right from wrong. I can remember times of working in the group home, and young girls didn't even know how to operate their bodies when they were in their woman time.
And that's
They didn't know how to properly clean. They didn't know how to properly dispose of. And they were shamed when it came on. Because they weren't educated about the purpose of it. So how can we expect people who have not had some of these things to be effective?
That's true.
And I always stress to people, I'm definitely not downing anyone's ability to parent. Until you become a parent, you will never understand the job that it is. Because it's a hard job.
It is.
But I think as parents, we have to stand up and accept responsibility for what is going on. Accept responsibility that the person that you birthed has taken someone else's life. The person that you birthed have went out here in the community and broke into someone's business. Broke into someone's home. Or remotely rape somebody. We have to accept responsibility when these kids, and it always takes me back to, I told Ari about the article where the 10-year-old was trying to rob people. And I'm like, 10. At 10, how do you conceptualize this? Do you know what I thought about after we finished? I thought about YouTube. I thought about Facebook. I thought about the good and the bad of social media.
Social media is killing. It is taking over. Those are the social media is the new parents. If you don't want to be bothered with your child, put them in front of a phone, put them in front of TV, put them in tablets, and we have to get back away from that. We have to pull back because, like we discussed last week, it's a distraction.
We don't even have Sunday dinners no more.
We don't have Sunday.
We don't even have Monday, Wednesday, Thursday dinners. Like you come to the table, everybody got their cell phone at the table, you know, or. What I tell you about the meme, somebody posted a meme on Facebook that said, turn the Wi-Fi off in your house, you see people you ain't never seen before. Because everybody's, okay, how many times have you been in society somewhere and you walk in and everyone in the room is like this?
Got their head down and hands are going and this.
But it's crazy because now they have a disorder for your neck. Because you on the phone so much.
Really?
In your hands, yes. They have a disorder for it. They have a disorder from gadgets for our eyes, our hands, our necks, and our ears. Yes.
That is something. We gotta do better. It's time for us. We, as a community, as Cumberland County community, we have to do better. We come together for cookouts. We come together for parties. We come together when it's time to smoke weed. We come together when it's time to drink. We come together for everything else. When it's time to turn up, family reunion, wine and canvas, that's the new thing. Okay, but why, like stuff like this? Well, hey, we're trying to save our children. We're trying to save our community. Everybody is diverse. You go over there doing your thing. They over there doing this thing. 5 people in this community talking about gun violence. 5 people in this community talking about mental health. 5 people in this community talking about this and this and this and this. But who's working together?
Yeah.
Nobody. But it
Who's
goes back to
working
what,
together?
but it goes back to what we said before. No one is in this. You should not be in this for the shine.
Right.
You should not be in this for the accolade of it.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be genuine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if it's genuine, then it's easy for you to pick up and collaborate with somebody because it's strength in numbers.
Right. But the whole thing of it, we got all this on this table, but if we put it together, everybody's there for the one thing because we saving our babies. Guess what? Because the sad part about it, and the thing that I hate to say, God forbid, you never know when this
When
is
it's gonna knock at
just
your
gonna
door.
knock at your door.
That's right.
Mm-mm.
On August 21st, 2017, in a million, trillion, quadruple trillion years, I never thought I would get the phone call and say my son has been shot. My 17-year-old baby. Never in a million years that I even experienced something like that in my life, and I done been through a lot. But that right there is a phone call that will shake your world.
Yeah, your world will never be the same.
Never. And the fact that I have to, like I share with people, on the first day of school, when everybody's sending their children to school and y'all kids at the bus stop, on August 26th last year, I was putting my son in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I was burying my child on the first day of school.
Sure was.
Do you understand the mental capacity that I had to process that of even saying, usually I had to get him dressed for school, and I know his favorite thing. He loved polos and Levi's and Jordans. And we had to dress him up to let him to rest. This is the stuff that I'm trying to get y'all to understand. It's time to grab your children. It's time to get hold of what's going on because the enemy is busy and people are picking up these guns. They legalizing guns. They got gun permit. They just walking around. People, just guns going off at Walmart everywhere. Get your children. Let's pull together because it is a hurtful thing when me having 4 children. That's what I had. I carried 4 children in my body and birthed 4 children. And now I only have 3. That chain is broken and it'll never be the same. So what I'm trying to explain to y'all, it's time to get it together. It's time for us to get back focused and focus on our community, on our children. Let's start being more involved on a positive note. That's like I said before in my gun violence awareness meeting, I know you got your boo thing and I know you like him and he like her and y'all want to do this and all this, but what about your children? It's time to focus on them. They can't raise themselves and that's what they're doing. When we was doing our social work thing, I think I remember that a child was learning how to cook, had to pick the child, go walk, meet the child, and pick him up at school because the mama was here or at work or somewhere. The children are taking on the parenthood, and it shouldn't be. We're gonna have to, trust me, I did the sacrifice.
Right.
Being a single parent with 4 children, I had to sacrifice a lot. Jobs that I wanted to take for the money, I could not take because I had to make sure I was home by 4 o'clock so I could be home with my children because I did not want them by themselves.
But the greater question is, what's more important? What's more important? Is money more important than your children? What's more important?
Money
That's the
versus
question.
children.
What is more important? Having that prestige job that's taking you away from your kids or being there with your kids?
Money versus child. Money
What's more important?
versus children. Money, we got to do better. And then it's not even this, like I said last time at the other meeting, me and my children used to have monthly meetings. And we would say, hey, that was the time for everybody to get it off on the table.
Yes.
How you feel? What, as a parent, what could I do better? And my kids, let me tell you about RJ kids. They're going to tell you. And they used to tell me about, especially Tone, Mom, with that deep voice, he would tell me about myself. Then I had, that's that self-evaluation. Well, maybe I was, my message might be wrong, but I presented it wrong. I couldn't have talked that harsh or, you know what I'm saying? So, you got to be careful how we doing it. So we got to self-analyze. And I had to admit sometimes I dropped the ball and I didn't do it right, or so I had to accept that and go and say, okay, now I got to do better in this area because it's affecting my children and they're seeing it. That's a problem,
Right. But I think too, when you look at the dynamics of communities, we really have to get out more in the communities.
Yeah.
Be more active in the communities.
Yeah.
Churches need to be held accountable in the communities.
Mhm.
Businesses need to be held accountable in the community.
Mhm.
Everybody has to be held accountable in the community.
That's right.
If you want something to work, you have to be willing to put in work to make it work.
That's right.
And it goes back to what we were saying. You have 1 million people out here all targeting the same population, but you're so afraid that somebody's doing it better than you. It's not a competition.
Just saying.
It's not a competition. The only thing we should be competing about is how busy can we keep these kids weeks?
Every day.
How busy can we keep these kids out the streets?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do as a whole?
Mm-hmm.
Because we know as social workers, we look at things holistically.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
We look at the whole person,
Yes.
the whole environment, the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
So how can the whole community
Right.
come together
That's right.
and make the situations better?
Right.
Not just because I'm from Murchison Road, I'm gonna make Murchison Road better. I'm from Shaw Road, I'm gonna make Shaw Road better.
I'm from the Dune.
One
I'm
thing
from
about
you know
it,
what I'm saying?
Fayetteville is a giant circle. So no matter what street you turn on, it'll lead you to another street.
Right.
So guess what that means? All these streets are connected, so we're all connected in some kind of way.
Right.
So let's just make it be a big connection.
Right.
Connect the dots.
Right. And I don't like whenever you see certain people or, you know, we are from different areas that you might think you're better than me or you because you this and this and this. It's not about that, because at the end of the day, even if you don't have no children, why not support somebody? Because one day you might have kids. You got nieces and nephews, you got cousins, and you could easily be in this situation.
Right.
So that's, I'm just telling y'all
We
how
have, as
serious.
parents, we have to be open to allowing other people to help us.
Yes.
And that's where I think we drop the ball, and a lot of times we don't want to receive